Yo guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you've not been here before. So I've just jumped on today to do my weekly forecast for the week commencing the 29th of November. So let's just jump into it. And today I'm going to start from the monthly chart because it's the 10th time that I've done this forecast, so I thought how can I make it a bit better this time. So I'm going to do the full top-down analysis from the monthly. And then I'll present the trading opportunities that I've forecasted for this week. So let's get started with Nzdusd. So Nzdusd on the monthly, we've got this break of structure here, which is a bullish break of structure, which is left behind the imbalance down here and POIs down there. And it's also left behind this POI here, which is more of a base than a solidified point, but it's still a valid point of interest. So considering both this POI and these POIs further down here, we're expecting some type of bearish price action on the monthly. So in terms of monthly, I'd at least be looking for a pullback to this area here. So from where we are right now, that's another at least 90 pips and potentially maybe even 300 pips if we go further into it. So definitely from the monthly, we're looking at bearish bias on Nzdusd. Alright, so now looking at some of these shorter term plays. So looking at the daily chart on Nzdusd, what we can see is that this bullish bias that we had for the last couple of weeks, looking at these breaks of structure, it has now been invalidated. And what we've actually had is a break of structure to the low. So we've broken structure here, which is from this range, from the high there to the low there. Now, with this break of structure, it is only intent, but in the context of what I've just presented on my monthly, I do definitely expect that we are going to be probably seeing some downside now, really. Looking at the daily chart on NU. So, for where we are right now in the daily, what we've got is we've got this push down here, which broke structure, which was caused by this buy move here. So our last real point of interest for selling from on NU is this buy candle here, which is what caused this most recent impulsive leg on the daily. So looking at the daily chart, what I'm really forecasting is basically just sells out of this area up here, and then we can target as a first target that monthly base and then see where price goes from there. Now looking at the 4 hour, we've actually got a couple more opportunities. So based on the current most recent price action on the 4 hour, we've actually got the 4 hour successful retrace, which we could potentially look for sells from. So the thing with this daily impulsive move is that we don't really know if it's finished yet, so it could literally just be continuing down. It doesn't necessarily have to come back up to this daily OB. What could happen instead, we could just see a shorter pullback just up into this 4 hour successful retrace order block, and then we could go from there and then just continue to hit that monthly order block that I spoke about. So definitely this is an area where we could potentially be selling from. Now what we've also got is a 4 hour impulsive, so there's your 4 hour successful retrace. This bit is just a continuation because there's no new high, and the actual 4 hour high before this one is up here. Now this is the 4 hour impulsive order block, and what I really like about this one is that we've got that clear imbalance below it, and we've got the high volume kicking in straight after it. Now also this 4 hour impulsive, it's in line with the daily order block, so really the highest probability setup that I'm seeing is some type of trade out of this 4 hour order block, and then we can hopefully take it all the way down to the monthly. So yeah, on the 4 hour, we've basically got two selling opportunities. We've got the 4 hour successful retrace and the 4 hour impulsive. Now both are valid, but the 4 hour impulsive does line up with the daily OB. So with the 4 hour impulsive we do have that multi-time frame confluence. We've also got imbalance, which down here it's not really super clear. There's a bit of imbalance, but nothing anywhere near as clear as the imbalance up here. So yeah, both areas are valid, but I'm super interested in this area in particular. Now, just looking at the 1 hour, similar to the 4 hour SR, we could just see like a more aggressive move. What we've got is this most recent order block, which calls for most recent breaker structure on the 1 hour, and we could just see price literally just following on very aggressively from what it's been doing recently, and that could happen just from this 1 hour. So we have also got this 1 hour order block here, which presents possibility for sales. But yeah, for me, the best opportunity really for selling in terms of the high probability opportunity is going to be a sell out of this daily order block, and even more ideal if we can get it straight out the 4 hour impulsive, because then we've got the multi-time frame confluence as well. But I'm not going to ignore these lower POIs, because definitely price could go from there, and it'd be a shame to miss out on the moves when we can clearly see that those two POIs are there. So I'll be happy taking sells from either in the super short term, this 1 hour POI, in the medium term, the 4 hour SR, or if neither of them get respected, then I'll be looking for sells out of here. Now, initially, I wouldn't look for any counter trend trades, but if we do see this 4 hour successful retrace violated, then at that point, we can be pretty confident, I think, that we are going to see a retrace back up to this 4 hour impulsive and daily order block. So if we do violate the SR, then potentially look for some type of trades, counter trend, to take advantage of this range here, which is about 100 pip range between the 4 hour SR and the 4 hour impulsive. So that's it for NU. Selling from the 1 hour SR, sell from the 4 hour SR, sell from the daily order block or the 4 hour imp, or look for counter trend trades after the 4 hour SR has been violated. Alright, so moving on to AUD/USD. So guys, if you're enjoying this forecast and if you like my forecast in general, please do subscribe to the channel, because it really helps me out. I'm super grateful for everyone who subscribes, and I'm super grateful for all you guys who watch my videos. And if you're new here, I do put these out pretty much every week, so if you are interested in seeing the next one, then please do subscribe to the channel. Also, what I've done is I've written out all this analysis into a Notion document, and I'm linking that Notion document in the video description. So if you guys want to see my top-down analysis from a monthly on each one of these pairs, then just click the link in the description. That'll take you over to the Notion document that's got that information in it. Alright, so let's look at the monthly on AU. So the monthly on AU, we've got this low here and we've got this high here. This range is created by this breaker structure, and what we can see is that before that breaker structure we get this imbalance that gets left behind, and really the first POI that I'd be interested in would probably be this wick really down here. So if we're looking for price to reverse on the monthly and start going bullish, really you'd expect it to come from there. So considering that, we do really have a reason, at least even to just come and fill some of this imbalance. We've got a reason for price to travel down, you know, 200-300 pips, and if we went down there, we've even got a reason for price to travel 600-700 pips. So from a monthly perspective, there's definitely a reason for the daily downtrend to continue, basically. Now, looking at the weekly, it's basically we've got the bearish breaker structure, and then we're now looking at almost having another one. But I think the situation is really clear on the daily here with AU. So AU, we were looking at that breaker structure to the high, which has now completely been violated. So at this point, I'm not interested any longer in buys in terms of continuing higher, because what we're looking at is a new break structure. So really, the logical thing is for price to continue lower at this point. Now, looking at the current price action on the daily, what we've got is this daily high here and the daily low there. Now that daily high, it's pretty obvious. This is the buy, which caused the overall sell. So I'll be looking for sells out of that area. If we can get back up there, then definitely sells out of there seem like a great opportunity to get involved in the market on AU. Now, looking at the shorter term, what we've got is also our 4-hour SR. So the high of the current 4-hour range, which is this here, which is this buy candle. So if we don't expect price to retrace all that way, it could just come to this 4-hour SR, and then we'll look for sells out of there. And what I am aware of, which I've marked on the 1-hour, is our current 1-hour SR, which is similar to on NU. But yeah, it's very close to the 4-hour SR, so I'm still going to mark it on because it is a valid reaction point, and we don't know what's going to happen with price. But I would prefer to see price really coming back up. I mean, if we were going to play off this 4-hour SR, you probably want to be playing off this area here, which has actually got that imbalance. So, but yeah, let's see what happens. So AUD USD, we could see sells coming out of the daily OB. We could see sells coming out of the 4-hour SR, or we could potentially see sells coming out of that 1-hour area there, but that's a bit more unlikely. Now, in terms of the counter trend, if we are going to go back up to the daily, then a counter trend does seem like it could definitely play out on AU, but I wouldn't want to take any counter trend positions on AU until we see the 4-hour SR violated. So that's basically the same as it is on NU really, in terms of looking for counter trend positions. Sorry about that, guys, but yeah, so only looking for counter trend trades to basically capitalize on this move here, which will be in play once this 4-hour SR is violated. Yeah, sorry about my internet, guys. Sometimes it seems to freeze when I'm doing these forecasts. Alright, so let's just start again on the monthly with Euro Pound. So Euro Pound on the monthly, we've got this break of structure here. Now this break of structure, we've got a clear order block there, which has left behind imbalance. So we are pretty much looking at price coming back to this order block before then potentially continuing higher. Now that makes sense as well because we've got this type of accumulation here, so we're going to have a lot of liquidity under these laws here. So for me, with all that liquidity there, with this order block and the imbalance, I think it'll make sense for us to see some continued downside on EG. Potentially could be looking at another 300 to 400 pips of downside really over the coming months to reach this area before then potentially going higher. And I'm aware that this area here is minor structure on the monthly, so the major range is from here to here, and we have essentially played off of this area down here. So you know what I'd expect really on the monthly on EG is we're going to come down here, take out all the liquidity that lies below there, fill this imbalance, mitigate this order block. We'll tap into there and then we'll shoot up. We might see another break of structure breaking this point and going even higher. So let's see what we get. Obviously that's a monthly, so it's not super relevant on your day to day, but it's worth being aware of and can help us understand what's going on right now. So with EG at the minute, I think the 2-day is clearer than daily, so I'm just going to do the analysis on the 2-day. Now what we've got on the 2-day is two clear consecutive bearish breaks of structure, break structure 1, then we get a retracement which essentially mitigates what's in here, and Looking on the daily, we can see that basically that mitigation there is of this wick, and I did actually forecast that range and that wick and highlighted that area as a clear supply order block. So it makes sense that we've seen the mitigation play out now. Now, following that mitigation, we got a break of structure to the low, which confirms that we're in a bearish trend now and that this was mitigation. So following that, what we're really looking at on EG is for price to pull back higher before then traveling downwards. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. The 2-day seems to be a bit messed up. So I'm expecting price to basically come back up and then sell out of this range. Now, in terms of a counter trend, at this point, I wouldn't take any more counter trend entries because we're just too close to the 2-day point of interest. Like, maybe there'll be some scalps in this little move here, back up to the high. But for me personally, I'm not really interested in them positions. I'd rather wait for these higher probability, high reward sell positions that are going to be coming out of this area. So, looking at the 4-hour, what we can see is we're actually still in, well, we've had the range break there, but we've got our impulsive OB there, and then we've got this higher area here as well. Now, it's pretty clear really on EG what we're looking for is a sell from this 2-day area. Now, looking at the 4-hour, there's two pretty clear refinements. You've got this refinement here, which is pretty much ideal, the lower refinement, and then what we've also got is our more extreme refinement up there. So for me on EG, I'm not interested in counter trend at all, and I'll just be looking for sells out of them two areas really, or just out of the 2-day overall. Yeah, so definitely sells for me on EG, and then the first target as usual will be the liquidity, the range lows on the 2-day. But as a stretch target, I do think we could be reaching that monthly OB, but that could literally take weeks or months, so I wouldn't probably want to hold the trade that long personally. Sorry about that, guys, my internet cut out again. So moving over to euro dollar now, let's just start from monthly again. So what we've got on the monthly is this break of structure here. Now in terms of the monthly, that creates a bearish bias because we've got bearish break of structure, and when we look at where that actually came from, technically the extreme is up there and we do have that order block sat there, but since it's a monthly, what you've got to consider is how much volume is actually in some of these candles. Now if we look here, there's a clear base with imbalance which actually caused the impulsive leg. So for me, that area is a key reference point really in terms of whether price can break above it or not, and it's a clear area of supply in the market. Now what we had is back in 2018, price actually reacted off this area, had quite a strong downtrend. We've then come back up to tap off of the order block which basically mitigated this order block, and now we've started moving away again. So for me, in terms of a monthly, I think it makes sense for us to just continue down to break structure again. So we could be looking at a big downtrend really on euro dollar in terms of a weekly and daily. Now looking at the weekly, I mean it's not really much clearer than the daily. It's just showing us some bearish price action. So looking at the daily, this is where we can actually try and find some opportunities. So based on the daily, we've got the last two breaks of structure and they present us with two clear areas to sell from. We've got our daily successful retrace order block, we've got our daily impulsive order block. I'd be happy to sell from either of these, and my forecast on EU is that I'm just going to look for sells out of the SR first, which will be more aggressive, more move that'll happen sooner. And then I've got the daily impulsive for sells, which will be probably take a bit longer to get back up there really. But if we do get back up there, I'll still be looking for sells, and then I'll be targeting the low of the range as an initial target. Now, in terms of a counter trend, potential buys on EU, until we see a break of this SR, I'm not interested at all in buys because, like I say, I think a reaction from here makes perfect sense. But if we do see it violated and it starts messing around like this before it then pushes up, I will be looking at potential counter trend plays and try and capture that push from the SR to the daily if we do get that break of the daily SR. So yeah, EU, no counter trend plays right now, but we can take counter trend if the daily SR is broken. And in terms of the pro trend plays, I'm just looking at sells from the daily SR, and if that fails, sells from the daily impulsive. So let's see what happens with EU. Now, again, starting from the monthly with the pound dollar, pretty similar situation really to what happened on EU. We're not actually reacting off a base, but we are reacting off a solidified high, which does make it slightly higher probability. We've moved away from it already. We did actually break lower, but it was still only the wick break, so for me I won't count it. We've now pulled back up, reacted off this area here, and then we've started to see this bearish movement. Now I can see in the minor structure what we've got is this impulsive move up, which comes from somewhere in there. So in terms of is price gonna, move all the way down there, I'm not really sure about that, and that's a multi-month, if not a multi-year forecast, so it doesn't really matter that much. But in terms of the immediate price action, I do think that we've got a reason for price to come further down into this low here. So let's take a look at the weekly and the daily here. So looking at the weekly, we are approaching really the range lows now on the weekly. So it's possible that price will reverse, to be fair, and it would make sense in terms of a weekly chart for price to reverse and start going higher. But for me, that order block, it's not really super clear. We've got imbalance below, and I do think in terms of what's actually happened with this big sell here and then this big push up, probably further down here is where you want to be looking at buying it. And right now, we're still in an overall bearish move. So I will acknowledge that we're at the bottom of the weekly range, but I'm not really too interested in that. I'll be more interested in following what's happening on the daily chart and taking it from there really. So we've got a break structure 1 and then a break structure 2. So clear confirmed bearish trend. Now what we've got is our daily SR, which we can sell from, and we've got our daily impulsive, which we could also sell from. So if price does get back up there, because it's not actually filled the imbalance yet fully, if price does get back up there, then we could look to sell from there. So for me on GU, pretty simple really. We're looking at sells from the SR, or we're looking at sells from the impulsive, and of course I'll try getting beat on the lower time frames to increase my risk to reward. Now, in the sense that both of those opportunities are over 100 pips away, I think it will make sense for us to look for some potential intraday counter trend opportunities because we are going to have to travel 130 pips to get back up there. So I'm sure there'll be some good intraday opportunities that we could potentially look at taking on the way back up there. Now, right now, we're still in this 4-hour range from here to here. So right now I wouldn't look for any counter trends, but if we see a break and then we start to see something like this happen, that's the type of counter trend that we could potentially be looking for. So we've got our breaker structure, retracement, and then we break again. And that's when we can start considering counter trend plays back into these POIs. But yeah, let's just see what happens. But definitely the main focus on GU for me will be these sell positions out of the SR and out of the impulsive OB. But shorter term, if nothing's happening, then I don't see why we can't take counter trends considering that there's quite a large range there. Alright, and now for the final pair. So pound yen on the monthly, technically we had bearish break structure, but now we're just stuck in this massive range. In fact, I think I got one wrong there, to be fair. Sorry guys. The break structure is actually there. But it doesn't really change anything in terms of what I was forecasting anyway. So what we've got here is we're just stuck in this huge range. I mean, considering this, we've got a massive POI up there. So in terms of what would you expect to happen, I think it would make sense for us to see, you know, that. But again, that's a multi-year forecast for GJ, and it's not necessarily super relevant right now. What we could also see is that price just continues downwards after this impulsive move, correction, impulse. So really on this, I think the monthly is not super clear, and I much prefer to be looking on the weekly and daily charts. But in terms of the monthly, as I say, I do think that it makes sense for us to be traveling up there. So any type of buys on the weekly and daily, that does add quite a bit of confidence to them really. Now, looking at the weekly, we're looking at bullish price action overall, and I think we may as well just look straight at the daily. So on the daily, we've got this break of structure, and I was forecasting this POI. We've now violated that, or at least we've violated it on the lower time frames. Now, we could still play off this POI, but at this point for me, I do think it's really been violated. I'd rather see price playing off this extreme down here, and then we can look at a buy to then follow up with that monthly thesis that we will eventually mitigate the POI at the extreme. Now, technically, until we close below that point, if we start to see bullish price action coming in, then I'm not going to miss out on it. So we can see price just coming straight out of this area, but like I say, I would prefer at this point, since we have actually got the wick violation, I would prefer to see price come out of this extreme down here. And what we could even see, if we are going to see a big move like that, we could see, you know, a lot of this liquidity taken because there's a lot of relative equal lows here. So we could even see some liquidity taken below this area before then traveling higher. But we'll have to see with that. Overall though, I'm definitely interested in buys out of this POI here and potentially still out of this POI, but I'll be a bit more wary with that one. Now, just ignoring this POI, if we consider this one invalidated, which as I say in a lot of ways it pretty much is, then we can essentially know that we're looking for shorter term sell positions to bring us back down into this more extreme POI down here. So even from where we are right now, we've got 150 pips down to there. Now what we've also got is this 4-hour point of interest to sell from, and that's a 400 pip move nearly. So yeah, for me, in the shorter term, I'll be watching. I'm not really interested in any counter trend buys in terms of buying this back up to here. For me to be buying based on that daily POI, I probably want to see something pretty clear. So yeah, I mean that said, we could potentially buy out of that area and then just target this as a first target, knowing that potentially we could continue. So I guess some type of buys up to here do make sense, but I'm also open to shorter term sells as well because we can just continue to melt down into that area. So yeah, basically intraday I'll be forecasting sells from there. Potentially we could also see buys. So depending on the lower time frame price action, I would be open, I guess, to taking either buys or sells, considering that we're already in this daily POI. When we get up to this 4-hour POI here, I'll be interested in potentially taking sells to then take us down 400 pips to this daily extreme point of interest. And then when we do get to the daily extreme, I'll be interested in taking buys. So this is how I'm seeing it right now. We've got our potentially we've got buys out of there to do this counter trend back up to the 4H, or we could have sells out of there to just continue this impulsive move and take us down. Now, I don't really like forecasting against each other like that, but at this point, it could literally go either way. So in terms of the intraday moves, I think both of those positions make some sense. And what we could also get is if we do see that counter trend buy play out, and then we end up in this area, then looking for a sell out of that area to bring us down to here would pretty much be ideal for me personally. So that's GJ. I mean, it's not the clearest pair right now when you take everything into consideration, but I do think that one of these forecasts is going to play out most likely. So definitely here we've got some interesting opportunities to take advantage of this coming week. Alright guys, so thanks for watching my 10th forecast, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought of starting from the monthly, or if you just want to see me jump straight onto the daily, straight onto the 4 hour. And as always, I really appreciate you guys watching, and I'm really grateful for it. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this video, if you want to see more videos. And thank you for watching guys. So I hope you trade safe next week and follow your trading plans. And always remember that a forecast is just planning out possibilities of what could happen so that you're prepared. It's not saying that this is what's going to happen. So always remember that guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good trading week. Cheers guys.